There you go. Going live again. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Hey, Robin. What are you doing? I was just talking about my... You okay? Talking about in the video recording I was doing for a vlog today. I'm talking about how robins are historically used to follow pigs around woodlands. Because pigs would turn up all the earth. But since there are less and less pigs, they found another big, disgusting, hairy creature to follow around the woods. Me! They follow me! Everywhere I walk, I turn up the earth. And then they find all the worms and grubs and stuff underneath. Do that one again. I was just chopping all this up. I found of the trees that I stacked this morning, one of them was clearly dead already. I had no idea, and one of them is not. So I'm going to try and get this one that's already dead and dry, lovely and dry. I have chainsawed all of that one, and now I'm just going to chop it up. But I'm not too worried. Oh, that went far. I'm not too worried about the other one, about the one that's green or fresh. Whoop. Because, well, it's so green that if it sits and it rains in the next couple of days, it's not too big of an issue. There you go. Right. Next one. So, here's the thing. It's the last live. I copied it and I shared it in a few places. And that meant that people saw it. But I don't know if that's going to happen if I don't do it. So this is just on YouTube. This is just me on YouTube. Let's see what happens if I don't share the link anywhere. See if people will arrive as I'm chopping this wood up. That's cut. This one's not cut. I'm just halving these. I can't be bothered. Partly I can't be bothered to do any more. But also, it's one of those funny things in this particular job, which is that if you do too much camp prep, if I were to split all of this, every single bit, down to kindling size, or to, log burning size, then I'm sort of taking something away from the groups. And even if I wasn't taking away the actual act of doing it, because there will always be wood to chop, there'll always be more wood that needs split. There will always be more wood to split. But there is something very different about the experience of genuinely with the particularly kids that are involved, but adults too. The realism of asking if they could help cut some firewood, and it not being, what's the word? It not being, I was going to say unnecessary, that's not quite the word I mean. Performative, maybe. There's something about asking a 6-year-old to help cut firewood because you need firewood, not because it's an activity you've set up and you think that that will be helpful, but because the camp actually needs firewood. There's an authenticity to cutting firewood with kids when you need firewood, or when you will need firewood, as opposed to having all your firewood already neatly stacked, and then it's entirely kind of like superfluous for the kids to come and cut some. So that's kind of why I'm halving it, because when it's just big, there's so much wood to get through. The size of it, the width of it is so big that none of them can get through it. I'm making this look, I think, relatively easy. But I'm a 17 stone amateur strongman competitor. So the kids that I work with are not going to have such an easy time, you know. So cutting it in half means that it can dry out way faster, which is great. But it also means that it's at a size where the kids can kind of do the next step themselves. And quite a lot of the kids that I work with can just kind of self-mediate. They can see the stack of firewood, and at about this kind of half rounds, they can have a good old go at chopping it. And oh, actually, don't do that, Lewis. Ruin your chopping logs. Looks cool when people whack an axe into the corner of their logs. I always think those people are absolutely wasting their chopping logs by putting loads of tiny splits in them. More than you have to. Obviously, you're going to have to put splits in it. It gets tiny splits every time you whack it. But chipping away at the edges unnecessarily, it's kind of pointless. I just cut these the other day, and actually, at about a quarter of a circle, my 6-year-old, how many are we? A fair few. My 6-year-old could cut quarters of it. Oh, she's not 6, she's 5. Could cut quarter rounds of this. So a half round gives a nice kind of like, you know, bigger ones can cut bigger logs, and then they can pass them down. It's one of my favourite things when you see a group of homemade kids or school kids or whatever, and they really get into this kind of processing thing. You know, the space we've got here is big enough that you can have a kid cutting them in half, and then another kid cutting them even into quarters, and then another kid, you know, slightly further down, and they go smaller and smaller, and it's not patronising. It's like they've all found these roles. They are all kind of functioning together. When I talk about it as work play sometimes. This really interesting idea that happens where I can't find any writing about it really, where kids will invent straight, you know, there's a thing of like, oh, they're so happy they're playing together, oh, they don't look like they're happy. But not all play is not all play is like relaxing and unstressful. Some play is quite stressful, and work play in particular has this thing where it's like kid will invent work play, right? And sometimes they will invent stuff where they have to move things from A to B, or where, you know, the wood needs to get chopped, and there are no external pressures, right, in the way that an adult would understand stress. There is no reward, there is no punishment, there are no carrots, no sticks to chopping this wood. But through the course of playing, kids will quite often invent their own stressors. And I'm so curious about why that is. What purpose does that serve? Is that practicing for stressful situations, for kids to stand there and go, we have to cut the wood by winter, right? And it could be like a glorious sunny day. But you get kids, you know, sometimes really enrolled, really screaming at each other. We have to cut it all! Cut the wood! There's no time! And there's loads of time. You know, it's the middle of the morning. They got all day. And even then, they don't have to cut the wood. But there's something stressful and enjoyable about being in that realm. And then also the social practice. Is that all of them? I think that's all of them. The social practice of what's it like to talk to people in that stressful, you know, communicating with each other in those stressful situations. How does that go when you're feeling super stressed? You know, what's it like when somebody down the line screams at you, go, go, go? Actually, do you know what? I'm going to quarter them. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to quarter them. But maybe let's quarter them on the splitter. Is that going to work? It would work for some of them, but not all of them. So I'm going to keep this. Actually, no, I'm going to switch out for a smaller axe, because I'm lazy and I can't be bothered to use the big axe when I don't have to. There we go, little dinky half-size one. Right. Now, I'm going to do these ones on here, I think, so that I can work my way towards stacking them on there. Hopefully that's still in frame. Am I still in frame here? Yes, but I'm slightly out of shot. Let's move the camera over, shall we? So that I can keep cutting this and keep chatting about absolute nonsense while I'm doing this. Da da da. Look, there's my lovely. Oh, look, you can see a lot of my wood still. So I'm going to go to quarters. I think quarters is okay. It's a size, and hopefully this. Oh my God! Where'd my mallet go? Where's Timmy? Right, up on there. Stick you there. Bump, bump. Yes, I could just pick the axe up and swing it again when the axe gets stuck. But honestly, I just don't think it's worth the risk. I don't want to take a log to the head when it flies off. I've seen one too many things where people pick it up like this and swing it over their head to get another go. And then the log comes off and cracks them in the head. I can't afford to have a concussion. I haven't got the brain cells to waste on a concussion. Other people, maybe they can take it. They've got brain cells to waste. Me, I've got to look after them. I mean, that's probably not the best example there, because I just whacked myself in the head with the log to prove my point, which is obviously not the smartest thing. But maybe that does prove my point. There you go. Oh, it's a lot of back work, splitting logs. However you do it. Sometimes I think, it'd be better you just chop them all and you pick them all up at the end. But that's sometimes way worse. Oh, come on. There we go. Oh, don't stick your axe in the log when you're done. It looks really cool, but it ruins your logs. 'Cause the edges all chip away. And then you have to get a new log on another day. Right. So, said in the live stream earlier, I'm doing 2 today. Doing a bit of vlog recording today. Seeing how things go. Can I zoom in on this? Oh my God, I can zoom in. Look at that. Oh, okay. Oh my God. Okay. Enjoy watching middle-aged man learns about tech. Na 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 na. This way, na na na. That way too. This way, that way. There we go. Now, hopefully, it shouldn't matter too much about the sound, because the microphone is right here on my hat. Listen. That's where my microphone is. So I can go real far and go wherever I want. And you can still hear me everywhere I go. I once had a kid who was coming to our sessions, and he had partial hearing. And one of the strategies that they tried for a little while was that he had essentially Bluetooth speakers in his ears. And I had a necklace that had a little microphone on it here. So it's like a very early version of what I've got on now. And the idea was, I was in a classroom. Great, you just give it to the teacher at each place. But the idea was that he could hear, even if I wasn't close to him, he could hear what was going on. I think he might have only had it in one ear. But immediately we found, well, one bad thing, which was I had to be hyper conscious that he could hear me all the time, even when he wasn't near me. So if I was talking to another adult, I couldn't make comments or observations about the kids, because he could hear everything. He could hear it super loud. It wasn't just like he could hear me a bit louder. He could hear me wherever I was. So if I was 20, 30 meters away from him, but I was talking to another adult, he would hear me as clear as if I was standing next to him, saying, "Oh yeah, Dave seems to be in a different mood today. I wonder if they want to play with other bits." And that obviously wildly inappropriate that he would hear anything like that. But also, he would hear if I went to the loo. I had to remember to take it off because, you know, he would just suddenly hear the sound of essentially running water. He could be 100 foot away and he would hear. And so I had to think about that. But there was a fun side to it, which was that when I was out, I could whisper and he couldn't tell whether I was, you know, 2 foot from him or 20 foot from him. So I would stand 100, you know, maybe 100 foot away, but because of where our woods is and the hill, you could still see him. And I would whisper things that go, hey, what are you doing? And then from wherever he was, I would hear him shout back like, "I'm just on the obstacle course." I go, okay, all right, have a good one, mate. And he could hear it clear as day. So that was very fun to play with for a while. But I don't know that I would necessarily want that as a permanent solution forever. Because it's very interesting how much doing this job compared to teaching, how much you want to have just moments of private conversations where you're passing stuff on to the other leaders, where you are kind of chatting stuff through, maybe, and so much in the moment, you know, because you need to be reflective and reactive. Whereas if you're teaching in a classroom, I think you can afford to let the whole lesson run and then chat with any support staff that you've got as a teacher. Say, "Oh yeah, how do you think this went?" And you adjust for next lesson. But doing this, you need to be able to check in all the way through the session. How's this going? Oh, okay, let's adapt that. Let's change this thing. Right, I've just noticed that. Have you seen this person doing any of that? All this kind of reactive stuff, which is sometimes hard enough when you have kids who have a fawn response to anxiety. Lots of people know the anxiety responses, the fight or flight and the freeze. And then fawn is another one. And fawning is where if you equate them each to a tiger, you might have fight the tiger, flee from the tiger. Oh no, the log is stuck. Flee from the tiger, freeze so the tiger doesn't see you, and fawn is an anxiety response where you just try and make the tiger think that you're its friend. So fawning for a tiger would be offering, you know, maybe a big bit of meat, go, "Nice tiger, nice kitty, kitty, kitty." But what that looks like for a lot of particularly children, not just children, but a lot of children, is a fawn response where they are desperate to do that with the adult that they see as scary. So it might be the kid that stands next to a dinner, mealtime assistant all through break. Might be the kid that always offers to take the register, always offers to sharpen pencils, always offers to hand the books out, because they perceive those things as helpful, and that they will keep the adult, the scary adult, from eating them. And so sometimes the fawn response is very interesting, because when you have a kid with a strong fawn response, you just spend time with them. You can't be like, "No, you may not fawn me, ha ha ha." It's not going to work, is it? But it can make doing forest school slightly more challenging, because if you've got a kid that wants to be by your side all day, wants to chat to you about maybe their special interest, that can then be challenging to work out how openly you want to talk to. Let's move this a bit. How openly you want to talk to other support staff about what's going on in your session. Can you zoom out, please? There you go. Because, that way. No. Oh my God, there's too many motors on this thing. There you go. Shouldn't make too much of a difference. If you've got a kid fawning, or you've got a kid that needs to chat about their special interest, both very valid responses, it does somewhat take away your ability to chat to other staff, other leaders, assistants, all those things. And so there's something I've navigated with my own kids quite a lot, because so my own kids come to the home ed thing, and I did not cut that evenly. Try better, Lewis. No. So I was saying no because I didn't want to swing the thing over my head. When the axe gets stuck, people quite often get tempted to swing the axe up over their head. And you only need to get it up a little bit, and then for the wood to become dislodged, and then dunk. And I don't want to play that game. What's I saying? Oh yeah, my kids. So sometimes they are hanging around at the beginning of the day when I need to talk to other members of staff, other leaders, about more than just, hey, here's the plan for the day, but like, oh, hey, here's what I'm watching out for with a couple of key people today. And I found I've thought very hard about, do I do this in some sort of surreptitious way? Do I try and give them a job and all this stuff? And actually, I think the best thing I've done is just to say, I need to talk to, leader's name, for a bit. I need to talk about the other kids because we're going to talk about how we're going to look after them. But it's not the best thing for you to hear. I don't know that you should hear how we talk and plan about your friends. And they've always been kind of okay with that. And I think it is helpful. My son wants to, or says, at least now, he's 7, and he says that he wants to take this over as a family business, which might be tricky because I got no retirement plan. I'm not going anywhere. Ha ha ha. Oh my God. Yeah, there we go. But I think getting that stuff in early and just kind of acknowledge, hey, this is part of the job. This is what I do. Can only be a good thing, right? Rather than thinking that this job is all, just playing, which a lot of it is. A lot of it is playing. I feel like I'm playing right now. I'm just wittering away to how many people are here? Last time I looked, there was a fair few. Yeah, 20 odd people just watching me cut wood, and this is my job. I'm just chatting around play and chopping wood. Because play is important. Play is important not just for kids, but for grown-ups too. Grown-ups need to work out how they play. I like this kind of play. This is my flow state. This is very nice wood to chop and get into flow state. And a big fingerprint need for me, if anybody's ever read Alice Sheldon's Why Weren't We Taught This at School, which is all talking about needs and different stuff like that. It talks about fingerprint needs, and one of my fingerprint needs is to be productive, to feel that I am moving things forwards, I am making things better, improving things. So any kind of playing for me has to involve getting better. I really struggle, which I think is why I've historically struggled with any kind of, well, it doesn't need cutting, any kind of parts at teaching that are not moving, that I don't consider, now here's the caveat, that I don't consider to be moving things forwards. I cannot get myself to do them. Marking was always a big one. I don't know that I necessarily ever considered marking books to be, now, to be clear, this is only my experience of it, but I don't know that I ever considered them to be a valuable trade-off, time-wise, in terms of improving, in terms of moving the needle forwards. Not for myself. I don't think they moved the needle forwards on my teaching, necessarily. The looking at books did, right? The looking at what people have got on with, because when you're doing stuff with like 30 odd kids, oh, this is going to fall down. Move back. Okay. When you're doing a lesson for like 30 odd kids, I might have to find another space because that's just going to fall. Or do I find something to stab into the ground? Do I need a fence post? Okay, think Lewis. Yeah, when you're doing stuff with like 30 odd kids, you do need books to an extent to check in with everybody. But when you are, the benefit to me was in reading it. You know, looking at the books. How do people get on? Oh, that person didn't understand that. That's fine. I can move the needle on that. I can reteach that in a better way. You know, the thing is, if marking genuinely had a significant impact on learning, then by the same merits, you should then be able to say that kids should just be able to read books, you know, textbooks, and that would teach them everything. Because if reading comments, you know, reading 2 or 3 sentences on their work was a thing that improved their teaching and learning significantly, efficiently, whatever you want to say, then why bother putting the teaching bit in at all? If the marking is an efficient way for kids to learn, then why not just give them written instructions that says, here's the material, here's how it works, you have read this so you now understand it. Don't know a single kid that ever moved the needle from marking. They moved the needle from reflective teaching, from stuff where I would move stuff on and go, I've seen what's in your book, let's reteach this. You know, it's never been a case that someone has read, for me at least, read marking that I put in their book and gone, oh, I understand. You know, it was just perfunctory. And so that's what I mean about the time trade-off. That is like, how long would it take me to mark all those books versus the benefit that comes out of it. If I could read the books and very quickly get an idea of, okay, that's what we've got to do next lesson, that's absolutely fine. But reading the books and then having to sit and think of more questions to write in the books in purple pen, and then the kids respond in their purple pens, and then you have to mark their response to the marking. The efficiency of that is absolute dog shit. As opposed to what we were talking about, which is moving around and being reflective and adaptive inside a session, which is what we do at Forest School, which is kind of going like, right, let's move as we go. We don't have to wait until the end. There's obviously benefits to reflecting summatively at the end, but I think they are minimal for me. My best reflections come in the moment, because then I can test and see if things changing does work. I think sometimes doing things completely summatively, can't say that word, summatively, means that you end up creating plans in a fantasy world. You know, it's too long to sit and plan and go, ooh, okay, so this next, and then maybe this, and I bet this will work. If you let me do that in the session, I can move where a resource is now. I can change where something is now. I can try saying things in a different way now. That for me is much more interesting than going away. It's a bit like when I was teaching one of the, you know, they call it like productivity porn, where you're like thinking about, you know, not necessarily being productive, but it's like got the guise of productivity on it. And I would spend ages every term thinking up seating charts, moving kids around, like playing God. Oh, I can move this, and then you won't be able to talk to them, and I think they'll be a good influence on you, and I think these guys, you know, you could spend hours thinking about that. And sometimes it was beneficial, and sometimes 5 minutes in, I go, oh, no, that doesn't work. Move that, move that, move that. What was the point of me spending hours to do something I'm just going to change anyway? Yeah, I'm very much waffling on while you guys listen to me chat about teaching and play and all these things. If you want to have a look through the rest of the YouTube channel, we've got loads of podcasts about different aspects of play, about different aspects of learning and teaching. Why don't you subscribe? Subscribe to the channel. Have a little look. It's alternative education without any piety. You know, I think sometimes I was thinking this morning, that a lot of alternative spaces, alternative leaders come with a sense of piety and holier than thou, and that if you're, you know, being alternative means being soft-spoken and calm and smelling of incense. And that's not my bag, man. I'm pretty wonky, but wonky in a way that's kind of irreverent, and I will poke fun at myself and poke fun at different things. And there's obviously a space for people that are very, you know, calm. If that's the package that helps you understand a message, then cool. But I think for me it all feels a little bit Russell Brandy, you know, a little bit too pious. And ooh, that was a wet piece. I literally sprayed me with water. Yeah, so if you'd like alternative education messages, that is a laugh. Have a look at the rest of the channel. Why not subscribe? There's probably a button here somewhere that you can subscribe to stuff. I don't know. Or leave a comment. Tell me why what I'm talking about is absolute rubbish. If you're like Lewis, there's a reason. There's a reason for the piety. Tell me, I want to hear. I want to know why alternativity. Oh, that sounds like a nativity where everyone's got thick eyeliner and an emo fringe. Welcome to the alternativity. Why do alternative things need to be pious? Do they need to be pious? I don't know. I'm not a very pious person. Can't take things seriously enough, you know. Everything's just... And also because I think that gives me scope to get out of things when I learn new things. I don't want to be... Piety becomes a bit doom and gloom. Oh, this is the thing. Not my bag. Okay, that's all chopped. Here you go. Subscribe. Do all the things. Bye.